Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Startup Talks. Today we have a special one. No startup roasts, just a deep dive into a topic every founder needs to understand. Market research, how it worked before AI, how AI completely changed the game, and a practical step-by-step walkthrough you can actually use. Let's start with something that surprises a lot of first-time founders. Even if you have a great idea and a validated hypothesis, you still need to do market research. You can't skip it.
Right. It's not about convincing yourself the idea is good. It's about understanding who you're selling to, at what price, through which channel, and what your realistic market size looks like.
And the classic framework for that is TAM, SAM, SOM. TAM is the total addressable market, the maximum revenue you could ever capture if you served every single customer in your space.
SAM is the serviceable addressable market, the portion you can realistically reach given your product, geography, segment, and channels. And SOM is the serviceable obtainable market, which is the realistic slice of SAM you can actually win, accounting for competition, brand awareness, and your sales and marketing resources.
These three numbers are the foundation. Without them, you're not building a business, you're guessing, and the research process used to be built around testing a set of hypotheses against these numbers.
Specifically, problem customer fit, value proposition, segment size, willingness to pay, go-to-market channel hypothesis, and competitive moat. That was the standard scope.
So, how did you actually gather that information? The traditional approach came in two flavors, qualitative and quantitative.
On the qualitative side, you had expert interviews, talking to industry practitioners, understanding the market landscape from people who are actually in the field, and the main goal was to identify jobs to be done.
I love the jobs to be done framing. Take footwear. When someone buys expensive dress shoes, they're not buying shoes, they're buying status. And when someone buys sports shoes, they're buying a lifestyle, the ability to go to the gym, to go for a run.
Exactly. Going to the gym is the job to be done. The shoe is just one step on the path to that lifestyle. Understanding that distinction completely changes how you position and build a product.
On the quantitative side, you had surveys, landing pages with paid traffic to test demand before the product exists, a technique Yandex used extensively, plus price sensitivity tests and retention tests if you had a prototype.
And the foundation of all of it was desk research. You'd gather industry reports, look at market size data, map the competitive landscape, identify substitutes, understand the regulatory environment. That was always the starting point.
Before we move to how AI changed all of this, do you want to add anything about the traditional approach?
Just that it barely changed for a century. The tools were the same, the methodology was the same. And the biggest problem was that you could never really verify whether the research was actually done or just fabricated.
That's a real issue. I've seen reports from major consulting agencies where the data points contradict each other within the same document.
And the way it was used was terrible too. 3 months of work, a thick document, someone reads it once, and then it gets filed away. The money is gone, and the insight is gone with it. It was never a continuous process.
There's a quote I keep coming back to. If the opinion of one random person doesn't interest me because it's not representative, why should the opinion of 10 random people be any different?
And that captures exactly why focus groups are so often a waste of money. You're picking random people who are not your users, asking them to react to a product they've never needed, and then paying a lot to document what they said.
What you get is a semantic cloud, a collection of words and associations around the product. You get zero reliable signal about whether anyone will actually buy.
The most reliable data you can ever get is from your actual users once you have them. Specific feedback from specific people about a specific product. Everything else is approximation.
Focus groups are not your users. They're strangers you're asking to evaluate a chocolate bar. Oh, it has an interesting flavor, and that costs you a fortune to find out. Okay, so this brings us to LLMs and why they represent something qualitatively different from what came before.
Right? this isn't just we automated the statistics pipeline. LLMs are trained on a massive corpus of human-generated data. In a very real sense, AI is a million people in one.
That's the key insight, and marketing was already the field where ML first made its biggest impact. Advertising, user behavior analysis, recommendation systems, all of that was ML long before LLMs arrived.
So LLMs came into a space that was already fluent in machine learning. The transition was natural. They just became another tool in the marketer's pipeline, but a much more powerful one.
What's qualitatively new is the ability to simulate human respondents at scale, not just process data faster, but actually model how different types of people would respond to your product. The most important new method is what's called avatar-based research or synthetic respondents. This is the central breakthrough.
The idea is that you take AI agents and configure them to represent specific real-world personas. A 35-year-old mechanic in Munich, a logistics manager in Hamburg, a freelance designer who works from home. You constrain the AI's knowledge to match that profile.
And these virtual personas are backed by publicly available data, demographics, purchase histories, prior survey data. The AI isn't just making things up, it's drawing on real behavioral patterns.
Platforms like Atypica.ai and Quantilope can generate 20 to 50 of these virtual avatars and simulate discovery interviews with all of them. What used to take weeks of recruiting and scheduling with real people now takes minutes.
And here's the number that gets people's attention. Accuracy studies show 90 to 95% alignment between synthetic respondent panels and real respondent panels. That's not a hypothesis. That's coming from actual research comparing the two.
To put that in context, a traditional panel is a group of 100,000 or more paid respondents who answer your questionnaires for money. You're essentially replacing that with AI-generated responses that are nearly as accurate at a fraction of the cost.
But there's an important limitation. Edge cases, cultural nuances, unusual behavioral patterns, these fall outside what avatar-based research can capture.
I have a great example of this. When Yandex Taxi was doing field research on their driver app, they discovered that drivers were placing their phones upside down in a charger holder. So the charging cable would come out the top, which means the app needed to support 180-degree screen rotation. Developers had never thought of that.
Exactly. That insight only comes from watching real people use your product in the real world. AI doesn't know about the charger holder. Nobody told it that detail.
So avatar-based research is incredibly powerful for mainstream behaviors and mainstream personas. For edge cases and deep cultural nuances, you still need real field observation.
Beyond avatar-based research, there are 4 other major ways AI has transformed market analysis. Let me run through them.
Go ahead.
Second is automated statistical pipelines. Multi-agent systems can now collect data from open sources, reports, forums, social media, synthesize TAM, SAM, and SOM, build customer personas, and run all the math in a single automated pipeline. Tools like Quantilope and Brandwatch do this.
And Brandwatch is worth calling out specifically. McKinsey actually highlighted it as a revolutionary startup even before AI because they figured out how to analyze social media data to extract real-time sentiment from real audiences about brands and product launches.
Third is real-time competitive intelligence. Instead of one-off project reports, you get live monitoring of your competitors. Crayon and GrowthGrid track competitor moves in real time and close the gaps in your market understanding as they happen, not months later.
That shift from project-based to continuous is huge. The old model was pay an agency, wait 3 months, get a PDF. The new model is set up a monitor, get alerts.
Fourth is predictive segmentation. AI running thousands of virtual scenarios to segment your audience automatically. And fifth is what I'd call conversational research. You take a large, messy, unstructured data set and you analyze it by just asking questions in plain language inside an AI chat. No Python, no SQL.
That last one is genuinely transformative for non-technical founders. The statistics are running in the background. You're just having a conversation.
You had an interesting observation about why AI landed so smoothly in the marketing research space specifically.
Yes, marketing was the original home of ML. The biggest early use cases for machine learning were advertising and user behavior analysis. The researchers who became the top AI specialists largely came out of marketing analytics.
So when LLMs arrived, the field wasn't resistant. It already had the vocabulary and the infrastructure.
And the overall quality bar for research has risen dramatically. A student with a $10 subscription can now run analysis that would find errors in reports from major consulting firms. You don't need a statistical background to get a high-quality answer.
That's democratization in a real sense. Even a small kiosk owner should now be doing market research. You just wouldn't have thought of it as accessible before.
Before, though, you'd send someone out to count foot traffic. Now you'd scrape data, run a web analysis, check Google Trends and Maps data, all through an agent. Physical counting becomes a later stage validation, not the primary method.
All right, let me walk through the 6 standard steps of a market research process side by side, how it used to work and how it works now with AI.
This is really the practical payoff of the episode. Let's do it.
Step 1 is defining your hypotheses. Traditionally, you'd gather a team for a 2-day brainstorming session. What if this? What if that? Who are we selling to? How do we reach them? What does the unit economics look like? A classic hypothesis would be structured like segment X has problem Y and would pay Z and we can reach them through channel A with a CAC that stays below LTV.
With AI, one person sits down and prompts Claude or ChatGPT. Good hypothesis generation takes minutes. No room booking, no group dynamics to manage.
Step 2 is desk research, TAM, SAM, SOM. Traditionally, you'd get access to databases from companies like Nielsen, giant tables, access fees, and you'd manually try to extrapolate data from 4 years ago to the current year.
Now you use Perplexity, Harmonic, Factors.ai. They synthesize data in real time using a bottom-up sizing approach. Scraping agents crawl the web and pull everything relevant. You can also add YouTube as a data source, transcribing videos in a niche, tracking view counts, measuring interest levels in a topic.
Though I want to be honest here, even with AI, TAM and SAM numbers are still educated guesses. It's a Fermi estimation. How many ping pong balls fit in a bus? The logic chain is complex, the data is scattered, and the result may or may not be right.
True, but AI builds that logic chain faster and draws on more sources. The uncertainty is the same. The speed is dramatically different.
Step 3 is discovery interviews. Traditionally, 20 to 50 real people. You hire field researchers, give them a script, send them out. They take handwritten notes. You digitize everything. Weeks of work.
With AI, Atypica.ai or Quantilope create 20 to 50 synthetic avatars and you interview them. Real mechanics, real logistics managers, real demographics simulated in minutes.
Step 4 is quantitative surveys. Traditionally, you'd work with a marketing statistician to design the test properly, then distribute it through Google surveys or paid panels.
Now platforms like Qualtrics.ai and Brandwatch design the test for you and run it on synthetic panels. What used to require a specialist is now automated.
Step 5 is competitive analysis. Traditionally, 100% manual, you'd scan every source you could find, map direct and indirect competitors, assess feature overlap.
Now you have SEMrush, Ahrefs, Crayon, Growth Grid giving you live monitoring. And here I want to push back on something I see a lot. Founders who want to build their own scraping integration with an API like Atypica.ai.
I know what you're going to say.
Don't do it. Pay $10 a month for Brandwatch and get 150 agents crawling the market for you. You'll spend 2 weeks debugging your own integration to get results that are worse. Your job is to do the analysis, not to become an integration engineer.
The goal is market insight, not technical infrastructure, and step 6 is report synthesis. Traditionally, a manual process where the analyst's biases heavily influence which signals get emphasized.
The human analyst says from all these factors, these 3 feel most important. Based on intuition, recent conversations, personal experience. That's where a lot of research goes wrong.
AI-generated reports can be explicitly instructed to weight factors by how frequently and strongly they appear in the data, not by what feels right. You can ask for a data-driven synthesis, not a feeling-driven one.
And you can tell the AI to actively flag where bias might be entering the analysis. That's something a human analyst is structurally incapable of doing consistently about their own work.
So what does this all add up to? With 4 or 5 tools, Claude or ChatGPT for hypotheses, Perplexity for desk research, Quantilope for synthetic interviews, Brandwatch for monitoring, SEMrush or Crayon for competitive intelligence, you can complete a full market analysis in 1 day.
Not weeks, not months, 1 day. And the cost is around $100 a month in subscriptions versus tens of thousands for a traditional marketing agency.
That's a category shift, not just faster, fundamentally different in who can afford to do it and how often.
Right. Before AI, market research was a one-time investment. Now it can be a continuous practice. Which brings me to my main point.
Go ahead.
Market research is no longer a standalone project. It's part of the customer development loop. You do a market analysis before each custdev cycle, you update your understanding of competitors in real time, and you feed those insights into your next round of problem interviews.
Which means the output of this whole process is the input for custdev, not a replacement for it.
Exactly. I want to be clear. None of this replaces problem interviews with real people. That's still where you get the highest signal insights, and it's still the step with the highest failure risk if you skip it. The AI analysis just makes sure you're going into those conversations with the best possible preparation.
Market research as a continuous loop rather than a one-time project. That's the shift. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode of Startup Talks.